Um, my name is Steve Niemeyer, and I'm an officer in the LBJ School Public Affairs Alumni Association, and I'm glad to have you all here today. We have with us DeAnn Friedholm as part of our Alumni Speaker Series, and DeAnn is truly one of the stellar alumni of the LBJ School, and it really is a great honor for me to introduce her today as one of our first speakers in our Alumni Series, which is Alumni Speaker Series, which is a partnership between us and the school, and this is being webcast, so all you folks out there from Boston to Beijing, welcome as well. DeAnn has spent her years since graduating from the LBJ School working to improve health and social services for disadvantaged people. Her desire to realize President Johnson's vision has led her to Washington, and then to Austin, to South Africa, and back to Austin. She's worked for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, where she started as a presidential management intern. So for those of you students who are considering PMF now, Presidential Management Fellowship, definitely a way to go. She's also worked for the U.S. Senate Budget Committee, the Texas Office of State Federal Relations in Washington, as well as some of the best-known Texas political leaders of the past 3 decades, including Governor Mark White, the late Governor Ann Richards, and the late Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullock. DeAnn was Texas Medicaid Director for 3 years under Governor Richards and Governor Bush, and back then the Medicaid budget was $9.6 billion, and it's about $16 billion now. So Governor Richards also named DeAnn her representative on the 1993-94 Clinton Health Reform Task Force, and appointed her Commissioner of Health and Human Services in August of 1994. When not in government, she's worked on political campaigns, built nonprofit research and advocacy organizations, developed statewide coalitions supporting Medicaid and CHIP. CHIP is a Children's Health Insurance Program. I'm sure y'all know that. And consulted with public and private entities working at all levels of government. DeAnn has leadership experience in creating strategies for successfully accomplishing program improvements, as well as implementing reforms. For example, the Texas indigent healthcare system, numerous Medicaid expansions and financing improvements, the creation of the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, which is no small feat, and reforms of the Texas program. Her nonprofit work includes work at the Benedictine Health Resource Center, now the Center for Public Policy Priorities, and serving at the Children's Defense Fund of Texas, where in June 2001 she was named their first executive director. Based on her extensive knowledge and experience, she was recruited in 2003 to South Africa, working for 3 years as a consultant in the National Treasury as part of a multi-departmental task force, where she did a couple of things to restructure the social grant system and develop reforms of the disability system. DeAnn now works here in Austin as a principal with Health Management Associates, a national consulting firm focused on public health programs at state, national, and local levels. She currently chairs the Kaiser Family Foundation Selection Committee for the Barbara Jordan Congressional Scholars in Washington, D.C., and serves on the board of the People's Community Clinic here in Austin, and I believe their office is right across the freeway here. So, in 1992, DeAnn was selected by the LBJ School Alumni Association to receive the Distinguished Public Service Award, just the 4th alumnus to receive this award, and she did it pretty quickly after graduating too, by the way. And at that time, she was the State Medicaid Director. Please help me in giving DeAnn a big LBJ School welcome. The title again is From Texas to Pretoria, I believe, or something
like that.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Good afternoon. That wore me out. As my mother used to say, I can't hold a job. It is actually 30 years ago last month that I started at the LBJ School, which I find absolutely unbelievable because I still feel like I'm about 27. Which I am not. And I'm pleased to get a chance to talk with you and kind of share some of the experiences I had, and more importantly, I hope get to do some questions and answers. I'm going to talk about a few of the more fun, interesting, exciting things that I participated in at different levels of government, and then spend a little more time about my recent experience in South Africa, and then open it up for any questions that you want to ask, with no promise that I will answer. I actually love the LBJ School. I had a wonderful time here. I've made lifelong friends here. I came into the school with a very strong focus on health and human service issues. I knew that's an area that I wanted to work on. Unlike a lot of people that came into the school, I had been very active in political things since I had been literally in 9th grade. Starting out registering poor people to vote in 1968 and 69, which was shortly after the Texas poll tax had been ruled illegal. And then working on a political campaign for a person running for state representative in my hometown, which is Waco, Texas, and having him win, which was a big coup given the politics of where we were from. And we won because we had gone out and gotten people who generally didn't participate or hadn't participated in the process in the past. And so I got early on a sense of what it could be like to make a difference. And the member that I worked for, who I worked for his election, went on to become a member of the Dirty 30, which at that time was a very big deal in the Texas legislature, where 30 people stood up against the power of the Speaker of the House, who was ramming through what turned out to be highly illegal legislation, which lined the pockets of himself and many others, and he ended up spending some time in prison over it. But that included some great people like Sissy Farenthold, who then subsequently ran for governor, and that was a fun campaign to work on. But early on, I guess what I'm trying to say is I got the sense of activism and using your skills to try to forward progress and improvements for, the way I think about it, is the little guy. Trying to get fairer opportunities out there for people to be the best that they can in our country, and particularly in Texas. So all of that, I went into the University of Texas very briefly, got a degree, an undergraduate degree in government and history, and worked my way through school, paid for my way through school, which is no longer financially possible. But I did at that time, working at the Capitol. And so I spent 20 hours a week working in the legislative process on the House of Representatives side for the representative who I helped get elected. And that was a fascinating experience, but it was a time when women, and especially young women, just weren't encouraged to participate. And so I remember one of the first rules that I learned, girls, you'll find this, everybody will find this funny, is that you never admit you could type. You never ever admit that you could type. Because if you ever let them know, then that was it. That would be your assignment for the rest of the time. I left undergraduate school in 1976 and spent a year actually selling antiques in New Orleans because I needed to raise some money. And then I came to the LBJ school in 1977. And it was just, our classes were smaller back then. It turned out it was the 8th graduating class of the school. I think that's right. 8th graduating class. Nobody's here to, Dave Warner's not here to correct me. And as I said, I came with a very strong interest because of my background in helping less privileged people, which was right in line with kind of the reason that LBJ had wanted to create this school in the first place, and of course all the great things that he put in place domestically during his tenure. It was a nice fit for me. So Elspeth Rostow was the dean that year, because the dean that I thought I was coming in under got stolen by President Carter to run the public service, the civil service and do a major reform. And so when I came in, Elspeth Rostow was suddenly thrust into the deanship, which turned out to be a wonderful experience as far as I was concerned, because one of the things that she did was she recruited Barbara Jordan to come participate as a professor here at the school when Barbara announced her retirement from Congress. And so my second year of school,